Hello, 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 hello. I'm just setting up to share my screen. So if you are here, welcome. I'm just give me one moment. Well, oh, that's not what I want. I want. Welcome. Hello, this is Taisha Green, and I'd like to welcome you to tonight's training. So tonight, our training, the Fix My Love Life, please fix my love life training. And we're going to have some fun. I'm planning to, I have a lot of information to share with you tonight. So I'm just going to wait a couple more minutes. And I want to make sure that you're in the chat. So if you're in the group, remember we're the Last in Love Revolution on Facebook. So if you didn't get a chance to join, jump on over into your Facebook account and join the revolution. It's just do a search for the Last in Love Revolution and click join, and I'll make sure to get you accepted. But that's where the conversation is going to happen at, over in the group. So any questions, any comments, anything we want to add to this training, we're going to talk about over in the group. So there'll be action happening over there. There'll be plenty of action happening here. And I can't wait to get started. So again, I am Taisha Green. And just a moment ago, my PowerPoint was sharing to my screen. And now it is not, and I don't know why. So just bear with me for another moment, if you don't mind. Okay. Just a minute. Yeah. So we're gonna stop here. It's just okay. It's not being nice. So anyway, while we're waiting for my screen to begin, if you're in the chat, why don't you go ahead and tell me where you're from, or what you're looking to get from tonight's training. So again, in the Fix Your Love Life training, what we really want to focus on is, those things that we don't know that we really should know. So there are so many things out there. People call them secrets. And the problem with secrets is that, it makes it seem like they're only for certain people. And that's just not the case. It's not that only certain people should have access to this information. It is that this is making me angry. I'm sorry. Wait, let me close it out. Let me try again. Hang in there with me, guys. I apologize. I get angry when my technology doesn't work. If anybody else is out there like that, then you understand what I'm going through right now. But I'm really a little bit annoyed right now because I made sure that it worked before. I made sure that it worked before I got started, and now it's not being user friendly, and I am not a happy camper. So let's see here. Try again. Here we go. All right, this should work. So if you're in the group, can you please do me a favor and let me know if you can see my screen. Right now it says the Last in Love Quickstart. You deserve a loving, harmonious relationship that lasts and lasts. And if you can see my screen, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully, whoever is ready for a lasting love relationship, some real happiness and peace in your relationship, they'll jump on with us. But like I said, I have a lot of information that I want to share. So just let me know that you can hear me and you can see my screen, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So I know that there's a short delay um, between what you hear and what I say. So I just want to make sure. I don't want to start giving away information and you guys can't hear me. So that's never a good idea. So if you can see my screen or you can hear what I'm saying, please, please, please let me know. All right, I have confirmation. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining. Before we get started, we'll go over quickly some housekeeping rules. And I'm going to move kind of swiftly through some of the information just because you will get the training in your email at the end of the training, but also because there's a lot of information that I really want to be able to share with you tonight. So share a little bit of housekeeping rules. If you haven't already, we just talked about this, join the Last and Love Revolution Facebook group so you can participate in the conversation, so you can hear what other people are talking about, so you can ask any questions. And every so often in the training, I'll jump over to the group and see what people are saying, see what the comments are, what the questions are. So whatever you have, just drop it over in the group. Why don't you take a moment to eliminate all distractions? This is some information that you are really going to want to know. It's really sad that so many of us aren't privy to this information, because it's really such good information, and and so many people should have access to this. It's like so many people, they call everything a secret. Secret to this and a secret to that. And they are secrets, but they're only secrets because nobody's saying it. It's like mum's the word. But I'm a rule breaker. I'm a rebel. So when I learn stuff, I want to share it with everyone. You're gonna want to take plenty of notes, because there's information on the slides, but a lot of information I'm gonna share with you verbally. So you're gonna want to have notes on a lot of it so you can refer back to it. And it says here, hold your questions to the end, but I'm going to pop into the group every so often to see what people are saying and to answer any questions. So if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and drop them in the group and we'll get to them during the training. All right, so I'm really excited. I hope you are too. So let's get started talking about how to make love last, because you deserve an extraordinary relationship. And the first thing is that people want an amazing relationship, but they don't really believe it's possible. And we're going to talk about that. So let's go ahead and get started. Thank you. Let's clap it up for you guys. Thank you for joining, for taking time out of your schedule, because I know that you could be anywhere doing anything during this period. And so the fact that you're taking this time to learn this information means that you are serious about your love life. It means that you are really serious about getting what it is that you want out of your relationships. And so that's really important, because so many people just put up with, so often we just settle. We put up with whatever everybody else is doing, whatever is normal, and we get stuck a lot. We get hung out to dry a lot. We put up with a lot of crap that we don't have to. So I really applaud you for taking the time to come and figure out, like, how do I make it work to my advantage? How do I make the good stuff happen for me? So thank you. A little bit about me, a very little bit about me. A lot of my clients, my good friends, call me the happy place catalyst. A lot of times what I do is I'm really focused on being in your happy place, and happy place being that place in your life where it feels good. it's just like we're always feeling like we're walking on eggs or just waiting for the other shoe to drop. There's all this different kind of stuff going on, and I'm just really an advocate for people just really living in their happy place. And so yeah, I get called that a lot. I'm not like Pollyanna, just yes, 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 but I do love the fact that I can be happy and I don't have to explain myself to anyone. I'm a best-selling author of the book Stop the Struggle, which is the woman's guide to an amazing life of happiness, success, and much less stress. It is a quick read, but it is an amazing read. So if you get a chance to read it, or if you haven't had a chance to read it, it is on Amazon. And um, it's a great book. It's a short book and it's very inexpensive. So it could be to your benefit. I'm a certified trainer, speaker, mindset expert. I'm also a certified sexual health educator, which is really important for me being a relationship strategist, that I'm able to help people, women especially, but couples, to really get past blocks and different humps with, you know, all the different issues that we have with our sexual presence. And then um, I also have a successful adult romance business. And so, again, it's really important to be a sexual health educator. And it's a lot of fun. So, what are we doing here? So, we're going to spend some time talking about why we're at a disadvantage. Why are you at a disadvantage in your relationships? We're going to, find out what it is that men want, and what the problem, what is the problem that it seems like we just can't give it to them for whatever reason. And then we're here because we really just want to experience real, lasting love. We're tired of the okey doke. We're tired of the foolishness, the lies, the games, and all of that. And we just really want our happily ever after. What we're really doing here what we're really doing here is we're going to fix your love life, right? We're going to talk about some things tonight that hopefully, if you keep an open mind, they will make a lot of sense to you. And anytime I do this training, it's so exciting to me. Anytime I do this training, people have so many breakthroughs, so many aha moments. It's just like they just, the light bulb is coming on all over the place. and and it's amazing. So we're going to spend some time tonight absolutely shattering the 5 myths that are getting in the way of your happily ever after. The things that are keeping you from experiencing that amazing relationship that you want to experience. And you're going to find out that a lot of it is really just not your fault. And to that end, we're going to break some bad habits so that you can get what you want from your romantic relationships. All right? So I hope you're ready. Let's spend a few minutes just talking about relationships. The reason that it's so important to get this right is because our relationships are everything. They are everywhere in our lives, and not just our romantic relationships, but all of our relationships with our families and our coworkers and our boss, our superiors at work, our children, everywhere. We have relationships um, with everything, and they are everything. So, it's a real fact that the quality of your life is equivalent to the quality of your relationships. And if you stop and you think about it, that really makes sense. If you have good relationships, then you really feel good about your life. If you're getting along with people and things are happening, um, that feel good to you and for you, you feel like you're in a good place in your life. But if your relationships suck and you're just having a bad go at it, it just kind of feels like everything is out of whack. Sometimes we go through periods of depression. Different things happen when our relationships aren't right, aren't solid. So relationships are everything, and we really have to begin to focus on our relationships and not just think, it is what it is, and there's really no way to move our relationships along. So, the bottom line is this: relationships struggle for 2 reasons. One of them is a lack of capacity, and the other reason is a lack of strategy. So again, we're stuck thinking like, oh, it just is what it is. If we're talking about a romantic relationship, you meet someone, you date them, and then it either works or it doesn't, and that is a lack of capacity and a lack of strategy, because you don't realize that you have a hand in directing the way that that relationship works for you. So what is capacity? Capacity is about the way that you're able to process relationships. It is about how you've understood relationships up to this point, what kinds of things you've learned, what you've taken in, what you've experienced. All boils down to your capacity, your relationship capacity. And so how your beliefs are formed, and thereby your capacity, is through mental programming, right? So mental programming is like all the stuff that we received as we were developing, as we were growing up. All of those rules that we learned. Remember those things like boys will be boys and girls are sugar and spice and all those kind of things. That is all mental programming. All those television shows and movies that we watch where couples are fighting, or men are cheating and women are accepting it, or there's divorce. There are all kinds of options, but all of these things go into our mental programming, and that creates our relationship blueprint. So we start to base what we do in our relationships on how we've been programmed, what things, because our programming determines what is acceptable for us. So based on our mental programming, we our relationship blueprint is created, and that creates our relationship mindset. When we go into relationships, or as we're processing, what kinds of things are we taking with us? It's almost like the baggage that goes with us. Everybody knows that you carry baggage into every relationship. So it's like your mindset is like the baggage that you're carrying with you. And some of us have baggage that's 2 miles long, just trailing behind us, and it's a ton. It weighs a ton, and it's just dragging us down, and we just carry that from relationship to relationship. And so we keep creating that same relationship over and over again. And the reason that I'm sharing this information with you is all change begins with awareness. The only way that you're able to change something is to become aware that there's something that needs to be changed, right? So if you think everything is okay and it is what it is and I just got to put up with it, a lot of people start to believe that the only way to get to the good stuff is to go through the pain. I just have to deal with it until it's better, and then I don't have to deal with it anymore. But that's just not so. You really don't. It's not like you just have to wait around waiting to get hurt, waiting to get cheated on. That's not what relationships are really about. So when you become aware of your power of creation, then it becomes easier to build the type of relationship that you want. So that's why I'm sharing this information with you. Um, and then let's talk for a minute about strategy, because strategy is how you I call it how you move in the world, right? But it's how you make people respond to you, or what kinds of things that you do. It's almost like it's like playing chess, right? What's the move that you make to make someone make the move that you want them to make, right? And so yes, it's a mind game. Um, it's not like you're playing tricks or you're manipulating or anything like that, but there is a certain strategy to building the relationship that you want. And so that capacity, building your capacity and learning some real relationship strategy are the types of things that are going to get you to the place that you want to be in your relationships, in your life. So let's jump in, both feet, full force, but remember to keep an open mind. Um, you know, and I'm saying that because some of the stuff that I'm going to say to you tonight is going to go against everything that you've learned all your life about relationships. Everything that you've learned about what constitutes a good relationship, or what things that make your relationship tick. all those kind of things are going to happen tonight. And so I need you to keep an open mind so that you'll know that so that as I say these things, you can at least be open enough to think about them, to give them some thought, because they're going to challenge you, right? So I want you to be able to give them some thought before you knock them down, before you say, no, I can't, that's not true, or I don't believe that. Just keep an open mind. Be open. Stay prepared. And let's get started. So, as a relationship strategist, some of the questions that I get asked all of the time, by women that I'm coaching is, Taisha, why do men cheat? Why do men leave? Why won't he commit? Why won't he treat me right? Why don't he act right? And what in the heck do they really want? Because if you're like most women, right, you're giving everything, you're doing everything, you're trying to be all those things that everybody told you you're supposed to be, to be good to your man, right, to take care of him. And so what do we know? These are the things, some of the things that we've been taught, right? We've been taught all men want is sex. That's all they want. They're dogs. They all cheat. Boys will be boys. They're all trying to get another notch in their bedpost and all those things. We've been taught that men can't handle a strong woman, and so we kind of lay back and sit back and put up with a little bit more. Or on the flip side of it, we're like extra strong, and we want to make sure that that advantage of. So we're forceful, and we we and that's something we'll talk about all of that tonight. We've been told to take care of your man, or another woman will, and it kind of always goes like that, right? If you don't take care of him, somebody else will. They sing songs about that. I can love him better than you can. There all any number of songs where there's some woman, some cleanup woman that's waiting in the wings for your man, right? And the other thing that we've been told is that love is all you need. As long as you love him, as long as he loves you, you guys will be fine. It'll work out, whatever, whatever. And the bottom line is that we generally we get love right, right? Love is not the problem. Okay, so we're gonna address that too. So at the end of the day, here's what it is. You've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, you've been tricked and deceived, you've been lied to about what it really takes, to create, a great, amazing relationship with a man. And for the most part, it's not like somebody set out to lie to you. Somebody set out to set you up in your relationships. A lot of this stuff has been passed down, passed down, passed down, because people sincerely believe it. The problem is that it's just not the case, right? So what kind of qualifies me to share this information with you is that I obviously had to learn the hard way. I jumped in both feet, got my feelings hurt, bam. And every time a relationship fails, every time something happens, your confidence shrinks, your self-esteem goes down, and it's just like, you start to not even trust your own judgment anymore. You don't believe that you can pick the right person or have the right relationship, and it's a struggle. Relationships become a struggle at that point. And as I was going through this pain, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, this can't be right. Like, I just could not believe that I had to suffer this kind of pain to get to the good stuff. Like, it was ridiculous. And so, for me, I set out to figure out, like, what is the reason that it's happening like that? Why? What? Because I realized that it's not just me. At first, you take it personal, you think it's just you, but then you realize it's not just you, right? It's definitely not just you, and you want to. So I wanted to figure out, like, well, what the heck is the problem? So I did all of this study, and I read hundreds of books and went to dozens of trainings, all to try to get to the root cause and the bottom line of what was going on. And when I did, I was simply blown away by what I learned, because I realized that all of the things that we are taught, that it takes, that we're supposed to do to be a good woman, are actually the things that are stifling our relationship, that are stymieing us and stunting our growth in our relationships. And that's really a big problem. So I'm just going to stop for one moment and jump over in the group and see if there are any questions yet or any comments about what we've talked about so far. Because, I think, I shared a post the other day about that had all of these pictures of all of these beautiful women on it. Reese Witherspoon and Gwen Stefani, Halle Berry, Sandra Bullock, Jennifer Garner, all these beautiful women. And it was just like, what do they have in common? And of course, they're all women. They're all beautiful. They're rich. They're wealthy. Um, they're talented. All these things. They're good looking. But the other thing that they all had in common is that they were all cheated on. And for the most part, they were either all divorced or, just all had to, forgive and start anew. So, and what that proves is that the reason that we all give for why our relationships don't work is crap, right? So, we think that the reason that we're not getting the love and happiness we deserve when relationships go bad, we always, the first thing we do obviously is blame him. He's a jerk. He's a jackass, right? But the next thing we do is we try to figure out what the hell is wrong with us, right? What is wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? Why does this keep happening to me? Maybe I'm not pretty enough. Maybe I'm not smart enough. I'm not nice enough. I wasn't good enough to him. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. And then you have people chiming in. You should have done this, and you didn't do that, and you didn't give him that, and so there's all these things that make us question, like, what the hell is wrong with me? And it's just not the case. I mean, smart, beautiful women get dumped on all the time, and so that's not the case. So again, we've been hoodwinked, we've been lied to, we've been tricked. And now it's time to get to the bottom of what the real deal is. So let's talk about why relationships really fail. And I'm going to tell you that the number one reason, regardless of anything you've heard, regardless of anything you've seen, the number one reason that relationships fail is due to unrealistic expectations, right? It's due to thinking like, we have these expectations for relationships. He should do this. He should have said that. It should be like this. He should hold my hand. We should go on vacations. We have all of these shoulds and wannas and gottas and have tos, and we have all of these rules that have been built up based on our blueprint, right? All of these things that need to happen, and when they don't happen the way that we've pictured it in our head, or we saw it in that movie, or that this other couple is doing, when it don't happen that way, then again, something is wrong. So it's those expectations that really, weigh the relationship down. And I always laugh, at the saying, like, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. That was the thing that broke the relationship. But it's usually not. It's not the straw that broke the camel's back. It's not that one straw. It's all the straws that are piled up underneath that straw. So then when that one straw hits the top, all the other ones that were there before just kind of pop that camel down onto the ground. So those are it's all those straws that broke the camel's back. It's just that last one where the camel couldn't hold any more weight, right? So we have to find a new way of looking at relationships and looking at what we want in order to get to where we're trying to go, right? I really hope that this is all making sense to you. So we're going to talk about the 5 myths. And this is myth number 1. Be a good woman, right? Be a good woman. Take care of your man. Make sure he's, fed and clothed, and that whole the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, and give him everything and make him your world. Be completely devoted. We do these things too. We're good at them because women, we're nurturers by nature, right? It's what we do. We're mothers. We're mothering. So we nurture by nature, and so it's easy for us. But what happens is you fall into a pattern, a role, right? And so the problem with being a good woman is you get set up, because what you think happens is because you're good to him, he's going to be good to you. You think he's going to reciprocate, right? And then the other problem is that everyone loves someone who is available all the time. Everyone loves a person who never says no, who does whatever I need them to do. Everybody loves that person, don't you? Right? Of course. So instead of just being a good woman, instead of just doing everything, and definitely instead of making him your world and giving everything, and you know, taking care, making sure his clothes are washed and he's dressed, and he can find everything, and all of these things, what you want to do is you want to set healthy boundaries. And so what that looks like initially is you want to you want to start with, what are your deal breakers? And you want to sit down and get you a piece of paper and you make a list of what are your deal breakers. What are some things that you are absolutely not willing to put up with in a relationship, right? What are things that if these things were to happen, I will walk away, no questions, I'm out of here. Make that list of what your deal breakers are, because then you can start to put boundaries in place, and you say, like, absolutely not, I'm not putting up with that. You can stop it at the door, right? You say, no, 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 that doesn't work for me. Because the bottom line is this: people don't treat you like you treat them. I'll bet everybody on this training has learned that by now. People don't treat you the way you treat them. People treat you the way you treat you, the way you treat you, and the way you allow yourself to be treated, right? And so, if you say yes all the time, and or if you're always giving and doing and running, and because everybody needs something, and you never bother to take care of yourself, you're saying it's okay to not take care of me. I don't care enough to take care of myself. So it's really okay if you don't take care of me either. All right. And that's how you set yourself up. So when people start to ignore you and they don't worry about what your needs are, and they can tell you no, that's why people can say no to you, because you say no to you. Right. So begin to set healthy boundaries and realize what your true value is. Take care of yourself, right? Because realistically, people say, like, the only way you can take care of other people is to take care of yourself. In a lot of ways, that's true, but we all know that we can run around and take care of everybody, and we just sit in resentment. We're angry, we're upset because they're not taking care of us, but we still continue to take care of them. So we know that it can be done. Except when you start to realize your true value, then you're able to say no. As a matter of fact, you're able to say hell no, right? And you're able to say, I want better. And if you're going to be in my life, you're going to do better. So as you begin to raise your standards, right? As you raise your standards, everybody around you has to play along. As you start to say no to stuff that you didn't say no to before, or if you're lucky and you haven't already created these bad habits, you do it from the beginning. Sometimes there's just some stuff that I'm going to say no to. There's some things people are going to ask me to do and I'm going to say no. There are some things that, even if I want to do them, sometimes you have to say no. You have to make a statement, right? And then sometimes, when you really don't want to be bothered, or you don't want to go out, or whatever those things are, you have to understand that your primary goal is to take care of you. You have to fall in love with the person in the mirror. So as you start to do these things, then you'll start to see a change in the way people respond to you. So don't treat people the way that golden rule, do unto others as you want them to do unto you. There you go. That is the golden rule, and it is golden, with the understanding that, you know, the first person who you want to do unto is yourself. So treat yourself right, number one, and people will have to start to play along. They'll have to get on board, or like my fabulous daughter likes to say, get right or get left, and that's what it boils down to, right? And so myth number two: men are intimidated by a strong and successful woman. Totally, totally, totally understand where this myth comes from. I understand why people think that this is the case. Because, I'm going to share with you here that the fragile male ego is a real thing, right? It's not just a cliche, or, cliches are cliches for a reason, right? But So I can understand where this myth comes from, but it's not that men are intimidated by a strong and successful woman, right? The problem with thinking that is that people equate emasculating with strong, right? So emasculating is like that type A personality that I'm the boss of you, you shut up and listen, um, you know, that people equate that with strong. That's not strong. Okay, that's it is a personality type, but that type of personality needs to learn to soften. Okay, because that's not the way to be in a relationship with a man. And those type women do, and people say like men love bitches. Why is that? And they do, but those relationships aren't healthy, and they aren't long lasting, right? Because normally, obviously, that type of woman will end up with a weak-willed man who, who in the hell wants to be with him anyway. But so you don't want to equate emasculating with strong. A strong, successful woman is a woman who's confident in herself, who knows where she's going, and who's making moves to get there. That is strong. That is successful. That is positive and powerful, right? And the other problem with that is that men have a need to be needed. So we all have needs, right? Everybody has a need, but men have a need to be needed. You have to understand that that's part of a man's personality, a part of who they are is tied into their ability to be there for you. And the problem with quote unquote strong women, right, is that we don't need anybody. I just went through this whole thing the other day. I'm reading some posts, some comments on the post. It's just like, I don't need a man. I don't give a damn what he wants. I don't want. And that's why you're on this post yelling and screaming because you don't need a man. So if you don't need a man, then what the hell are you on the post for about relationships? Why are you concerned if you don't need a man? Of course, nobody needs anybody, right? Except that we're all interconnected. But you don't need him because he's a man. You want him because he's a man, right? I don't need my man, but I definitely want him. So that's the thing. That's the problem with that type of thinking. So, what you want to do instead is you don't want to be that strong, emasculating woman who's just like trying to prove to him and everybody around you guys that you're the boss and you have power over him, and you're in charge, because men aren't built like that. And so one of his biggest fears is that you're going to try to change him. And so if you only think about how hard it is to change yourself, you can think about, I mean, the real almost impossibility of changing anybody else, especially of changing a man. So don't try to change him. Whoever he is, when you're in a relationship with him, if there's something that you don't like, I mean, if it's not a deal breaker, deal with it, right? Or find a way to motivate him to step his game up, right? So you don't want to compete with him. You don't want to try to, make him feel like he's not good enough, because that's what changing people does. You're not good enough. I need you to be this for me. So that happens a lot. So myth number two, um, being men aren't intimidated by strong women. Men love strong, successful women. Strong men, real men love successful women. They're not intimidated by you, but they don't want you to be embarrassed by them or try to change them or make them into something that they're not. It's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you. If you don't think he's good enough for you, keep it moving until you find somebody who does. But again, as long as it's not on your deal breaker list, then you need to find a way to deal with it, or he's just not the guy for you, right? So let's jump on over to myth number three. All men want is sex. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard this statement over and over and over again. We hear all men want is sex, all men want is sex, all men want is sex. And in a lot of ways, it is true. But sex really gets a bad rap, right? So men do, I mean, if you look at the list for men and women, sex falls in the top two things of importance in a relationship for men. Um, and for women, it falls in the top five. So it's really important, but it's not like uber important, right? But for men, it is uber important. And it's just one of those things, but that doesn't make sex bad. So sex gets a bad rap because it's important to men, but it's not all they want. And anybody who's been in a relationship with a man knows that just if you could be having sex every day with a man, giving him plenty of sex, giving him good sex, and if he decides he's gonna step out, he's gonna step out, right? So if for whatever reason he steps out, and he has sex with somebody else, then that's something that that really, I mean, that happens. So it's not like it has to happen, but it does happen. So it's not just that all men are dogs, or they all cheat, all they want is sex. That's not the case. Sex really gets a bad rap. Sex is not a bad thing. And as a certified sexual health educator and somebody who owns a sex toy business, I can tell you with absolute certainty that sex is not a bad thing, right? Sex actually is pretty freaking amazing, right? But you don't want to make sex a reward or a punishment. Um, and that's what happens when people think about sex like, well, that's all men want. Then you make it a reward or a punishment. I was reading a book once that said that, if you put that the magic words in any relationship, if there's something you want a man to do, the magic words in a relationship is a blowjob. I was like, what the heck is this? And I'm looking at the book to see if it's like one of those one of those like gag gift type books, where it's not real, it's just like fun, jokey kind of thing. And it really wasn't. It was a relationship book for women. And I was just like, what the hell is this? Because if blowjob is the magic word in your relationship, I want you to understand that any woman can have your man, right? It's just like that. That's too easy. If that is what you use to get your man to respond to you, anybody can have him at any given time. That's not the thing. So it's not the sex. Sex is getting a bad rap. Um, so what you have to do, and these are not in the correct order, because recognize the power of sex should be first, right? So you need to recognize why sex is important in a relationship. So obviously it's important to men because it's at the top of their list of what's important in a relationship. So you need to you do need to learn to love sex because it's really important to men, and that's okay because men need sex like women need affection. You know how we want to be hugged and cuddled and kissed, and the sweet nothings and all that kind of stuff. We need that. We thrive on that kind of stuff. That's stuff that makes us feel loved. Well, guess what? Sex is, that affection is to women as sex is to men. They feel the same way when they're being fed sexually and taken care of, um and their needs are being met. It feels the same way. They feel loved, they feel respected. So you need to recognize why sex is so powerful and why it's so important in a relationship, why it's so important for you to enjoy sex, and why it's so important for you to not be afraid of it, not be afraid to talk about it, not be afraid to do it. um but the real power of sex is that um it makes um a relationship. Sex is the only difference in the only real difference in your relationship with your partner and anybody else in the world is sex. It's really the only barrier that's not crossed in your other relationships. All the other things, communication, connection, even compatibility, you need those things in all of your other relationships and in your romantic relationships. But in your other relationships, in your with your parents or your kids or your coworkers or whatever, there's no sex there. So sex is that barrier that makes a romantic relationship a romantic relationship makes an intimate relationship intimate. And so a special note, this is for my single people, when to sleep with him. I just want to share this really quick. Um, Not really a part of this training, but I thought it was important to share. So, people talk about when I know there was a book by a famous comedian that was it 90 days? I think it was 90 days. They turned that into a movie. You got to wait 90 days before you have sex with them. I saw another movie or a book or something. was it 10 dates? I've heard, 6 months. I've heard 3 dates. I've heard so many things about when it is that you're supposed to sleep with a man. When you meet a man and you're going out, you're dating or whatever, when do you sleep with him? And the question is not when. The question is why. Right? So and when you understand your value and you understand your wealth, your worth, and your self-esteem is high, you're not saying like, when is it that I need to sleep with him? When is it okay? Or when do I need to sleep with him to keep him happy? You're asking, why would I sleep with him today? Has he done anything? When you're dating and you're getting to know somebody, whatever, you want to know why. Like, why do I want to spend this time? Why do I want to share my body, with him? So that is the question that you want to ask before you sleep with a person. Is he the person who is worthy of opening me, right? Of being a part of who I am sexually. That's the question that you want to ask. And you want to you because our job, if you choose to accept it, is to help him grow into the person that he needs to be. You don't. Oh, we'll get to that later in training, but it's not about if he's the right guy. That might be next. Hmm. I think it is. Let me get to it. You just haven't met your soulmate. There you go. So, so the soulmate problem is this. Um, the whole soulmate issue is amazing because I totally believe in soulmates, but I totally believe that people can have more than one soulmate. You don't meet one person. There's not just this one person out there in the world who's the only person for you and who's the only person who'll ever make you happy, and that's the one that every relationship that ends, it ends because he wasn't your soulmate, and nonsense. Okay, the problem with that is that, one, most guys are good guys. Most guys that we're in a relationship with, I mean, obviously there are some toads out there, and if you've been hurt by a guy or many guys, you probably think you dated them all, right? There are a lot of toads out there, but most guys are genuinely good guys. There are a few guys that really are toads, but for the most part, sorry, 1 second, guys. For the most part, most guys are really good people, who just, somewhere along the line, they make a mistake, or they mess up, and when you think about these things that we're talking about tonight, that whole, especially that good woman, the good woman thing. When you think about those things and how we've been creating our relationships, a lot of it starts to make sense. If you're giving everything, if you're completely committed, so many of us become completely loyal, completely committed to a man who hasn't committed anything to us, who hasn't even asked us to be his girlfriend or his partner, or to go steady, anything like that. And we're already all in, we're totally committed. Is he the guy? He's so perfect. I want him, whatever. And we're completely committed, and he hasn't given anything. Honestly, he hasn't even showed himself worthy of you giving him that kind of commitment. We've given him complete exclu damn it. Okay. We're completely exclusive, right? And he's not. He hasn't asked us for exclusivity. But that doesn't stop us, because he's a nice guy. He's a good guy, and we want him in our life. So we put everything on hold. We stop dating, all of these things, because we've decided that we want to see if it can work for him, except that he hasn't decided the same thing. So that's part of the problem. And then again, right, same thing, number two, it creates a desperation. So if there's really only one person out there in the world for us, how in the hell, I mean, what are there, like 7 billion people in the world? How am I going to find this one person in the world who's supposed to be the only person who make me see stars, and the whole world is perfect and amazing? It creates this real desperation, which is really one of the reasons why women settle for relationships with married men. Women settle for being the other woman, for all kinds of stuff, because we're desperate, right? We just think like, well, if he's my soulmate, um, even though he has a wife. I mean, damn it, he's my soulmate. So it creates a terrible desperation, puts us in a really, really bad position. So what to do instead? This is going to sound a little contradictory to what we just talked about, but understand that any guy could be the guy, right? So um, when I say that any guy could be the guy, what I'm explaining to you is that um, every guy you meet could be the guy who's the guy for you, right? But so then you have to learn to be discerning. You don't go into with everybody that you meet like, is he the one? You go into a dating situation or whatever with everyone you meet like a let me get to know him. Who is this guy? What, if you're already in a relationship, what you want to do is you want to look at your partner and you want to say, what is it that I love about him? What is it that, that makes me happy to be in this relationship with him? And you want to build on that, right? So you want to look at the parts that aren't necessarily that don't necessarily make you happy, the reasons that you feel like you're not as happy as you could be in your relationship, or things that you would like to change about your relationship. And you have to start thinking about either changing your attitude about those things or looking at ways to make those things different. So if it's something that's like I know people have relationships issues for all kinds of reasons, but if it's something like he leaves his dirty clothes on the floor or whatever, you either have to, you put the basket there. If that doesn't work, you got two choices. You can either pick up his dirty clothes off the floor, or you can learn to step over them. Because at some point, all right, I'm gonna say this, but it's not politically correct. But what you have to do is you have to teach people how to treat you, right? So you're training people around you, like what's good for you, what works for you, and you're being trained as well. So you know um as you start to train people, then they get a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. But if all you do is bitch and moan and complain or whatever the case may be, you're never going to get what you want. As a matter of fact, you're going to push people further and further away, because it's aggravating to every time I see you, the first thing out of your mouth is, why didn't you? Or you should have, or whatever the case may be. So, we have to really learn to be discerning about, how we choose, who we choose, and then how we get what it is we want. What are those words that we say? What are those behaviors that we almost like reward, kind of like you do with kids or puppies, or told you it wasn't politically correct, I'm sorry. But you reward positive behavior, um, and then you ignore negative behavior. And so I talk a lot more about that in with my private clients, and in a training, a boot camp training that I do, that really helps women understand, what's going on inside a man's mind. And what do you need to do? I mean, not what do you need to do. That is absolutely not right, because that's what a lot of relationship coaches say. Like, well, you need to do this, or you need to say that, or whatever. And that is absolutely not how you build a relationship you want to build. And then myth number 5 is that love is all you need. Guys, love is awesome. Love is amazing. Love is beautiful. Love is love, but love has become a totally overused and ambiguous word, right? And so you think about it, we love everything. I love my shoes. I love that car. Oh my God, did you see that movie? I loved it. Um, I love ice cream. We just we're in love with everything, and so as beautiful a word as love is, it really doesn't have a distinct meaning. So even where people are concerned, obviously you don't love your partner the same way you love your mom, or you don't love your mom the same way you love your work, or your friend, your best friend, or whatever the case may be. Even with people, there are different levels of love. And so love is just, we don't really stop to think about what we mean, even when it's when it's I love you. So, one person says I love you doesn't mean the same thing as when another person says it. And so, um, it's important to understand that that is what's happening with love, and why love is not all that you need. So, what to do instead. Obviously, first you want to define what love is to you. If you're in a relationship, um you know I remember this quote that I learned a long time ago that always stuck with me, that said, like, it says, just because someone doesn't love you the way you want them to doesn't mean they don't love you with all they have. So let me say that one more time. Just because someone doesn't love you the way you want them to doesn't mean they don't love you with all they have. So somebody could be loving you with everything that's in them, but because it's not the same kind of love you give or that you're used to, you don't think it's real love. You're comparing your last relationship with your new relationship. All kinds of things are going on, and so, um, so you're struggling. You need to define what love is to you. If you're in a relationship, you want to define what it means to the couple. And if you're not yet in a relationship, you want to know what it is to you so that you can know how to look for it. You're looking for it. You're making sure that the person who you're dating or you're interested in understands the love that you need. And so you're only loved when you feel loved. And I don't mean when you feel butterflies or goosebumps or anything like that. I mean, you're loved when you feel loved based on your definition of love. And then you want to recognize your power to create the love you want. And so it sounds hard, but it's really not difficult to create the love you want. If you show up in the world as the person um, who you need to be to get what you need to get what you want to get, you're going to get there. So, again, those myths, the good woman myth, again, it's great to be kind. It's great to take care of people and support people and be there for them and love on them and all of that. But don't expect that just because you do that they're going to reciprocate. And, don't just sit around and be taken advantage of, right? You want to get as good as you give, right? Um, and then obviously you don't want to be emasculating to a man. You want to let a man feel like a man. You want to let him be able to be himself around you, because that's the problem. A lot of times men can't be themselves. They feel like they can't be themselves, just like we feel like we can't be ourselves. I know for me, um, I went like 4 relationships in a row where I felt like unheard. I felt like, I've been in this relationship for all this time. You have no idea who I am, and it sucked, and it does suck. But then I thought about it. The reason that he doesn't know who I am is because I haven't let him see me. I haven't let him um, know who I am. I haven't told him who I am, being this good woman and taking care of him and all of these things. And so, that was the kind of relationship that I kept creating over and over and over and over and over again. And so, I'm just going to take a moment and jump over in the group, see if there's any comments, if anybody has anything they want to share. Um, but I'm telling you guys, it is so important to understand how these myths are setting us up. How just doing all of those things that we've been taught, that we saw people around us doing, that we see in the movies. I was just observing with someone the other day that we have like this culture of cheating. When you watch like movies and television shows, everybody cheats, right? It's just like, I mean, every show there's somebody, some man. Every now and again, there's a woman who's having an affair, in a relationship, having an affair, and so you start to create this culture where it's almost like you're being trained, you're being programmed to accept it. I mean, and you have to understand how profound that is. Like you think about how like the media. Let's see. I like to use as an example like the presidential shows. Like 24 set us up for a black president, right? It was a TV show that had a black president, and there were all kinds of things going on. But it started to make us feel more comfortable with the idea of having a black president. I know there was a show with Hell to the Chief, maybe Gina Davis. She was the president, so it started to make us think, along the lines of the possibility of having a woman in the White House as president. And so, we get trained by these things, and so we're watching all these shows where someone is cheating or there's some kind of infidelity happening, and we start to become a little bit less, um, offended by it. And so what happens if it does happen in your own relationship, then you're a little bit less offended because um you're a little bit less offended because you've been trained to be a little bit less offended. The women, a lot of times they take the guys back, or you see this brutal court battle or whatever the case may be, but all along you're being trained to be more comfortable with those type of situations. So, um, you let me know what you think about these five myths and how they've been playing out in your love story and your life story. And because I know for me, and very, very many of the people that I coach, they play a major part. And as people start to make these changes, what to do instead, as people start to make those changes, start to really step up in their lives and start to really understand the power of sex and why sex is so powerful, start to raise their standards and raise their vibration, um, then things start to change in life. You start to notice a subtle change and a little change here. And it's not just the people in your romantic relationships, your relationships all around you start to change as you start to step up into your own relationship, into your own life. So 1 second, I'm gonna take a drink. Thank you. So, all right. I didn't see any questions in the group, so I'm gonna keep going, and we may get a chance to finish early tonight. Let's see. Hmm. Here's something I did wrong. I did. Ah. Okay. So, um, let's go from heartbreak to happiness. Let's talk a little bit about the fastest path to lasting love. So, in addition to starting to see how these myths are playing out in your love story, and starting to see how these beliefs that we've carried for so long, just because we believe things. Just because we believe things don't necessarily make them true, right? When you start to see how they're playing out in your life, it's just like, oh, okay, all right, so I need to do this, and I want to do this differently, or let me try this, so every day you want to start trying something different. But the fastest path to lasting love is to really start to see where the disconnect is, right? So a lot of times what we say and what people hear are two different things. A lot of times um what our experience is, versus what somebody else's experience is. Like I don't necessarily believe that men are from Mars and women are from Venus or whatever the case may be, but I think most people can agree that men and women have totally different upbringings, right? And so women, we talked a little bit about this earlier, that whole sugar and spice thing, and um, seen and not heard, and all different kinds of stuff like that. And then, for men, it's just kind of like boys will be boys. They're gonna do stupid stuff and whatever the case may be, and and we just have to put up with it, or deal with it. And so, that has been basically our training going forward, since we even like your second grade teacher who said something like, if a boy hits you, it's because he likes you. All of those things are like part of the setup. And so those are the kinds of things that we need to focus on changing in our own lives. So that we can live a different existence. We can get to that happy, harmonious relationship that we're looking for, right? But it also helps to know like what the hell is he thinking? Like what's on his mind? Um um or what not even so much what's on his mind, but what are his fears? What is he, what is he afraid of? Because those are the, it's our fears that we run from, our fears that make us do dumb stuff, or that keep us from doing stuff that we should do. And so what are those fears that he's experiencing? What are those fears that I'm going through? And so I have this program. It's called the 21-day Rock and Relationship Boot Camp that talks about how to, that talks about what are those differences, where are those disconnects. So in the training, you get 21 days of audio or video training. So every day you'll get an email that has a training piece in it. You have a workbook full of powerful exercises that are going to really walk you through every that day's training. And then we'll also get 2 1-hour group Q&A calls. So once in the in the second week and in the third week, we have a 1 hour group Q&A call. And then we also have a private Facebook community that we use for additional, community where we can have conversations with each other and accountability. And then, because I think it's really important, we also get opportunities to practice implementing the new strategies. So as you learn new strategies and skills, um, you also want an opportunity to be able to practice those, so that you know how to use them, you know how to bring them into your everyday life. And the program is actually valued at $1,600. You're getting a lot of information. A lot. I've spent literally uh, $20,000 and 10,000 hours trying to pull all of this information together, just trying to fix myself, really in an effort to fix myself and my relationships. Um, and so I'm grateful for where I am in the world. But for me, the person that I am is, as I learn, I also want to teach. I want to share that information with other people. Um, but of course, the person that I am, um, I definitely don't want to charge $1,600 for this information. I want it to be accessible and affordable so that everyone can enjoy it and be able to take part of it. But I've also put a lot into it, and I'm giving a lot of my time to it. So obviously it's not going to be free, but let's see. I'm showing the program for $197, and it's really worth every single dollar of the program. The training alone, and the workbook. Oh my God, the workbook is so powerful with the exercises and the pictures that are there. Is really worth the price of admission. What you learn in the program is how to ask for what you want and then how to actually get it. You'll learn the secret weapon for creating real connection in your relationship. You'll learn communication techniques that will ensure quality conversations, fair fights, and relationship harmony. When you ask most people why they say their relationship ended, um, they always cite communication. While that's, communication is a big part of it, there are some other things that happen underneath that we'll talk about in this training that you'll begin to understand. Um, you know, is again those little straws that break the camel's back. Some powerful practices that address some past hurts and keep them from sabotaging your current and future relationships. So we really have to. One of the biggest problems, we talked about this baggage earlier, but the biggest problem is that our heart is broken, right? And so we carry that broken heart, ton, as heavy as a ton. We carrying it from relationship to relationship, and it's making us afraid to love and afraid to be vulnerable. And we're not going to get what we want like that. And learn how you build the ultimate intimate relationship. It'll help you with your personal relationships and your family relationships, and definitely, especially your business relationships. You'll learn how to read people, how to understand people, how to read between the lines and hear what people aren't saying. It's pretty freaking amazing. So in the 21-day boot camp, module one, the first 7 days, you getting to the bottom of who you are and what you want, and getting real clear about what it is you're trying to create in the world. And then module two is team him. So in that second week, you're gonna learn. Um, oh my goodness, everything. I mean, you'll never look at men the same after module two. I remember a movie that was with Mel Gibson where he could hear women talk without them saying anything. Maybe what women want or something like that. It's a pretty funny movie, but you'll almost feel like that. It's feel like you're walking around listening to their conversations. And then module three is all about team up. So you'll learn how to put it all together and make an amazing relationship. And it's a pretty powerful program. People who are in good relationships, people who relationships are pretty good and they're going pretty well, but they could always be better. Um, and then for people whose relationships are struggling, you're going to go from a struggling relationship to a good relationship to an amazing relationship. And then it's also for people who aren't even in a relationship yet, but who really want to find one. And those people are actually at an advantage because by not being in a relationship, you're not trying to fix someone who you've already started creating bad habits with. I don't want to call them bad habits, but um, unhealthy habits or habits that could be better. So you're gonna start. You can build whatever you want from the outset. And then as a bonus for people who act today, oh, 10 downloadable power cards. And the power cards, it's 10 cards and they all have powerful relationship messages on them. You also get a 20-minute laser coaching call. So that is a personal call with me, one-on-one. We'll jump on the phone together. Um, and in 20 minutes, you're going to give me a little background information and I'm going to fix your love life. And then bonus, my favorite. One of my favorite trainings I've ever done. This is to change a man without his permission training, audio training. And so it is about 30, maybe 35 minutes of pure, what I like to call motivation for helping a man change um, what you may want them to work on. And so it's not being manipulative or using any kind of sorry guys, the lights are going out in my house. Um, without using any kind of ultimatums or anything of that nature. Get what you want. And it's actually a lot of fun. So to recap, the 21-day Rockin' Relationship Boot Camp, 21 days of audio video training, a workbook, an amazing workbook, two 1-hour group coaching calls, the private Facebook community, plus opportunities to practice. And I'm marking it down to $97. Because I normally teach this in a live setting, and this is one of my favorite programs to teach, but I'm used to doing it live. I'm going to do it for $97. So the first 30 people will get all the bonuses, the 10 downloadable power cards, the 20-minute personal laser coaching call, plus the Changing Man Without His Permission audio training. So if you're in the first 30 people, you'll get the bonuses in addition to the training for $97. But wait, there's more. I didn't like $97 because, like I just said, this is my first time doing it as an online training. I'm used to doing it in person with people where I can watch their reactions and different things like that. What I really want to do is I want to make sure that this program is perfect. So if you're willing to work with me, I'm going to offer this program and give me some honest feedback. If you're willing to work with me, give me some honest feedback on this program. What do you think? What did you get from it? What are you learning? What else would you like to learn? What can I add? You'd have access to any and all updates of this program, and I'm gonna do it for $47. So do yourself a favor and pledge to never chase a man again. And you don't have to, because with this information, you are going to be able to. When I began to learn some of these strategies, it was just like if you ever saw that Pinky and the Brain, when they're like, Pinky's like, "What are we gonna do today, Brain?" And he's like, "Try to take over the world." That's kind of what it feels like. It feels like, I mean, like you're privy to some information that obviously most people don't know, but that is so game changing that it is gonna like knock your socks off. And how cool would that be? So you gotta understand the game has changed, from the 50s to 60s, uh, even the 80s and 90s. You got so many coaches and people giving you advice. They're gonna give you tips and tricks for what you should do when you meet somebody, or you want to meet someone, or you're in a relationship. Do this, and those things work for a minute. They give you slick scripts to use. Say this if he says this, and you want to say that, and text him this, and all of those things, all these little slick scripts that are designed to not sound like little slick scripts. And then the other thing that people let it tell as a woman, oh, you want to dress sexy and you want to put this on and make sure that's showing and that whole deal. And, that's how you attract his attention. And it will for about 30 seconds. Okay. And so everybody can tell you how to get the man, but nobody is telling you how to keep him. Right. And so that's what I'm here for. That's the purpose of this training, so that you not only have the guy, but that you also are able to keep that relationship. So we're going through this again. All that you get, the bonuses for the first 30 people, the power cards, the laser coaching call, the Change Your Man audio, which by itself is worth the price of admission. And we're going to do all of that for $47. So if you click the button below the live stream, it should take you to a page where you can sign up for only $47 for the training. The actual training itself will start not next Monday. I forget the date. August. No. Oh, okay. September 5th. September 5th, because of the holiday. The live training will start. It's going to be loads of fun. You're going to get so much information. And if there's anything, we have the group. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to discuss, we'll have that private training group where you can get it. I'm going to jump over in the group one more time to see if there's any questions over there, or anything people want me to discuss a little further. But other than that, I want to thank you guys for attending. I want to applaud you once again for wanting to get more information about how to change your life for the better in such an easy way. Just making some subtle changes every day, just a little bit here and there. And I'm telling you, just take a chance on yourself. This $47 training, for me, $47 is not going to make or break me. But it is important for me to get some honest feedback from people who have gone through this online training. And so I'm willing to do it for $47. I'm going to give you the best of the information that will help you build that type of relationship that you sincerely want. And again, thank you for coming. And stay tuned in your email for this training. And I will be in touch. I will talk to you soon. Take care. Have a great night.